Greetings, everyone. My name is Thomas Brooks, and I am a sexologist at Texas A&M University Commerce. A sexologist is, as Jessica O'Reilly describes, someone who spends a whole lot of time talking about sex, and almost no time actually having it. I'm not a sex or marriage counselor or a sex coach. My area of expertise is in psychological research on human sexual behavior. So, like most research psychologists, I spend most of my time sitting behind a computer, writing, reading, and doing statistics. But unlike most psychologists, my statistics involve how frequently people are having sex, their opinions and thoughts about sex, their kinks and taboos, and identities about their sexuality. Presently, I am a doctoral candidate in the educational psychology program working on my dissertation, which investigates the relationship between death anxiety and sexual behavior. So my participants have the pleasure of experiencing death anxiety prior to filling out a long questionnaire regarding their sexual history and preferences. So today, I have the pleasure of speaking with y'all about a topic which I have found quite interesting due to the nature of our current health and economic crisis: cam girls. While camming has been around for a long time, it has become much more popular since the COVID-19 pandemic, and the subsequent economic crash in the United States as a means for women to continue to earn money regardless of their employment status. However, in the grand scheme of technological advancement, we are seeing interesting implications in human sexuality. So, under the umbrella of sex work in the 21st century, digital workers are beginning to take a forefront in the labor force, as computer-mediated communication and digital technology shape the way that we buy and sell sex. Interestingly, the physical imperative of normative sexual intercourse has begun to deconstruct a little bit as humans discover avenues for indulging in satisfaction mediated through technology rather than with the physical body of another person. While the mainstays of sex tech separate the workers and the consumers digitally and temporally, as is the case with pornography and sex robots, synchronistic alternatives exist for human connection across the digital divide. Where there are sex robots, which alienate the consumer from the workers who produce the commodity or the sex robot, there is teledildonics, which allows for two people to simulate penetrative intercourse with the sex toys via the internet or Bluetooth. Where there are pornography films, which alienate the consumer from the workers and the sexual acts being displayed, there are cam girls, ready to engage in emotional labor to enhance the consumer's satisfaction. Cam girls, or cam boys, however the vast majority of workers are cisgendered women, typically work in private spaces like their personal bedroom or on a handmade set in their residence, and live stream themselves stripping and or performing autoerotic simulation and or penetrative sex via sex toys. Rather than streaming from private servers, the workers typically link to a host site. So this can be Live Jasmine, MyFreeCams, Chatterbait, MiniVids, MyFreeCams, Flirt for Free, Cams.com, or the popularized one right now, which is OnlyFans, which charges a hosting fee before depositing the income into the worker's bank account. While this is permitted in the United States, the legality of camming is much more in flux throughout the rest of the world for both the workers and the consumers. So hosts like MyFreeCams pay workers untaxed income from the United States. Cam girls are one of the more understudied subjects within academia, with much of the work centering around qualitative interviews with workers to understand their experiences. However, recruiting participants from stigmatized groups for qualitative interviews can be difficult. Henry, in their thesis in 2018, was only able to recruit about 8 participants for which she hypothesized could be due to the collective resentment towards paternalistic sex work related research. So what I mean by paternalistic sex work related research is that oftentimes when we approach sex research, particularly in the past, it has been through the lens of something is very wrong here, these people are sick, they're, I don't know, we could say they are exhibitionists or sadists, or there's some sort of like perversion or mental illness going on here. So one way to get around this recruitment problem is to follow the example of other researchers like Jones, who conducted a content analysis of message boards from the website Amber Cutie Forum, which is an online community of cam girls and their clients. Jones cites the utility of this method in obtaining authentic data because the researcher does not facilitate the dialogue. This method can be useful in drawing out the lived experiences of cam girls, utilizing their own writings to represent themselves, rather than being mediated through a researcher directly. Through the work of Jones, one can gather valuable information about cam girls' experiences in their field through the analysis of workers and consumers on this message board. However, the conversations between the workers and consumers creates a particular context where the workers are directly responding to and engaging with the people who already are knowledgeable about their work. Understanding how cam girls represent themselves in their work is to a more generalized audience could be more useful in encapsulating a more holistic perspective of these representations. So, engaging in online sex work communities can become much more pertinent as the economic ramifications of COVID-19 continue to play out. The internet is already full of a range of articles reporting stories of strippers who are turning into cam girls who are seeing increased profits, and women beginning to enter the sex work industry as they lose their jobs and need money to survive and support their families. So, for this talk, I chose 5 pre-COVID Ask Me Anything forums hosted by cam girls on Reddit to explore their experiences of cam girls and the kinds of questions they receive and answers they give. I provide links in the reference page, which should be attached to this video. For each of the AMAs, the cam girls need to verify their professional credentials, typically by a link to their Twitter accounts, and posting about their participation on the Reddit forum on the Twitter account. The direction of inquiry for this analysis engages with the concept of emotional labor, which is defined as the affective management for the benefit of self or other. Such undertakings demand time, energy, and attention, yet they largely go uncompensated. I chose emotional labor because, as the definition suggests, this work largely goes uncompensated. However, I think cam girls provide an interesting experience that helps to delineate between emotional labor and what we call emotional work, as described by Hochschild 1983, where emotional labor is sold for a wage and therefore has exchange value. So think of like a Walmart greeter, if you'll have those in Canada, which is essentially an older person, typically an older person, who stands in the front of the store and just says hi to you as you walk in. And it's their job to make sure that the customers feel welcome. So they are being paid for emotional labor. They're engaging in emotional labor. Whereas emotional work is often conducted in a private context and only has use value. So it's only valuable in that you're doing it. You can't really exchange that for money. So think of your friend who is often a little messy and regularly comes to you to vent or ask advice and talk about their problems with you, but doesn't pay you in money for your emotional support. And cam girls exist in this weird intersection between these two, the emotional labor and the emotional work, as they are quite literally being paid for sexual emotional labor, but oftentimes, as you'll see, they also engage in emotional work, which is kind of an unintended consequence of their profession. So, cam girls' engagement in emotional labor was originally investigated by Henry in 2008 with their thesis. As participants reported performing emotional states such as pretending to be aroused, trying to make themselves actually feel aroused, pretending clients were funny and interesting, remembering personal details about regular clients, and the maintenance of consistent and believable cam personas. So when you are doing camming, you are often not being yourself exactly, you're exhibiting and creating a persona that you can embody for the audience. This was something in the AMAs that I found with Ayla Girl, who reported that while the best thing about camming was the autonomy, control, and the ability to be creative and experimental in her work, the worst thing was that it was soul-sucking, and that the version of me that men wanted to pay for was not a version that was close to the real-life me at all. And so we see this delineation between the actual person and the persona that was created. Alternatively, thank you for coming. the username, explained that emotional work was benefiting her by making her more sexually compassionate. However, she recognized the work for what it was, saying that human interaction is a very big part of camming, and it's how most models build their success. I remember my regular users' names, their interests, their fantasies, or any little thing about them that they would let me know. I've built a lot of friendships this way, as I do consider my favorite users dear friends. They know me intimately after all. Similarly, Undies in England said that she not only does things that she likes to do, and most of her time is spent talking to my high tippers, but only if they're interesting and good friends to me. Money aside, a few of my high tippers have left the site and we're still very close. This was interesting because while the women identified the emotional labor they participated in, maintaining authenticity seemed to be a benefit that Thank You for Coming and Undies in England experienced in a way that Ayla Girl did not experience by crafting a camming persona. Primarily relying on income from emotional labor rather than physical labor was another major theme that I found in these AMAs. So, Mackie Kennedy shared that she was diagnosed with 2 heart conditions, which excluded her from the normative workforce. Saying pros are working from home at your own schedule and making great money. The cons are it's not consistent and it's hard work and you deal with a lot of rude or pervy people, but you learn not to think twice about it with time. However, she emphasized that the pros outweighed the cons, saying, quote, I am my own boss. I do what I want and I don't report to anyone. And that it's not a last resort to me. I love my job. She also reported, similar to Ayla Girl, that self-expression and creative control help make the work light and fun. She said, quote, I don't get bored of it because just like any monogamous sex life, you spice things up. Anything from cosplay, roleplay, to different toys, to blacklight shows is fair game. I switch it up all the time. However, cam girls are more likely to report that camming was typically a means to an end rather than a long-term career choice. So Anonymous Girl 943 said she quit camming after she made enough money to start pursuing her computer science degree. Similarly, Undies in England said, quote, I'd like to have a deposit down on my own place before I quit so I can live with a small monthly mortgage and make life easier when I do move out from it. Ayla Girl has since stopped camming and has moved on to express her creative interests on the internet, including a documentary about her experiences taking acid and a nude mime show. So she has shifted from camming to nude miming, which, more power to you. And this temporaneous nature of this work could be related to 2 factors. So the first, as demonstrated above, this work is a temporary moneymaker. Like, people move into camming because they have to, or they have a particular goal that they're interested in. Second, like other forms of sex work, there does tend to be an age restriction associated with the ability to make money. So Undies in England said, the majority of girls on my site seem to be from 26 to 30-ish, so that gives me hope that I'll be able to do it for a few more years. However, Mackie Kennedy was a little bit more optimistic, saying, quote, and there are no expiration dates with this. As you age, your fans will change with you. It's up to you when you're ready to do something new. However, all 5 women reported entering and leaving the profession was a personal choice, which further instills the autonomous nature of this work. If you are interested in learning more about camming, I have provided a reference page. It should be in the description of this YouTube video, or if you're watching in a class with Dr. Plant, then he should have a reference list provided to you as well. Like I said earlier, camming is one of the more understudied areas of human sexuality, so I went ahead and pulled some quotations from these AMA boards to kind of give you an idea of what's going on psychologically with this work. But moving forward, I would like to see more research done in this area to better understand the profession. For example, I think a great study would be to look at the parasocial relationship developed between cammers and their clients. These can be looking at outcome measures such as a sense of belonging, emotional support, and psychological well-being experienced by the cammers and the clients because of this parasocial relationship. So that's what I have for you today. Hope y'all enjoy the rest of your semester. Thank you for watching.